All right, what's up, guys? So I am in the studio. It's almost completely done. It looks incredible. It will be starting very soon. You can go to scoreatl.com. We've got a story talking about it. September 3rd is a big date. I'm not going to reveal it right now. Today, just wanted to talk real quick about our big game tomorrow, the Great Atlanta Bash. That's going to be Mill Creek at Norcross. I'll get into that matchup. But then we'll also talk about the latest composite rankings, how week one's results impacted our rankings at Score Atlanta, and also the other polls that are factored in. And then we'll talk about some of the top matchups to watch this week. So let's get started with the composite rankings. I just find this very interesting because really there's not communication at the beginning of the season with us, the AJC. Matt Stewart, he's obviously independent with his rankings at GPB, but there are a lot of teams, especially in this new reclassification, that we all had our eyes on. But there's also some that, for instance, like in Class 6A, I had North Gwinnett ranked, no one else did. Now they're really high. So I got it pulled up right here. One sec, guys. And then so far, the poll that's probably the biggest mess, and by mess I mean has the most teams that are getting votes in the composite for the top 10 is 3A. I think it's up to 16 different teams. But as soon as I get this pulled up, here we go. Let's look at these composites. One sec, it kicked me offline when I went downstairs. Hang tight, guys. We'll get geared up in a sec. And so this matchup between Norcross and Mill Creek, according to some of the polls, it could be a top 10. 680, here we go. 680 does have Norcross ranked at number 9. So let's start at Class 6A with the number ones. All right, so you have ITG and 680 both have Carrollton at number 1. The AJC and Max Preps kept Buford at number 1 despite that loss to Milton last week, the close loss, televised matchup in the rain. Score Atlanta is the only one that has Douglas County at number 1. They debuted at number 2. We bumped them up. So that makes it, in terms of total votes, Carrollton's number 1 heading into this week. Buford's at number 2. That's a 56-50. And then tied with 44 total points is Douglas County and Colquitt for 3rd. So that puts Mill Creek at 5. They're boosted because the computer rankings have them as a number 3. I definitely think they are a very strong, durable, consistent team. We'll see them tomorrow night. Camden County, they are not ranked in the Maxwell computer rankings, but they are number 6 overall. North Gwinnett comes in at number 7, and they're really helped by Score because I have them all the way at number 3. Walton comes in at 8 this week, Valdosta 9, Collins Hill 10. And then on the outside of this top 10 that are still getting votes, you have Grayson. They got a number 10 by ITG, a number 7 by Maxwell, and then North Cobb, a number 8 by ITG, and a number 6 by Maxwell. And then Norcross comes in at number 9. So in terms of these teams we just talked about in 6A, there are some matchups we will be tracking tomorrow night on the score ticker below that will be updated throughout. And we'll talk about these teams that were in the top 10. So one, you got Benedictine at Buford. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I thought people gave Benedictine a little bit of the benefit of the doubt last week. They had a pretty lopsided loss to Raven Gap. I think the way it was taken by a lot of the sports media was that Raven Gap's an exceptional team. They have recruits. They're in the top 100 nationally. But, I mean, Benedictine, if you remember when they've been winning all these state titles, it hasn't been uncommon for them to find themselves in the top 100 nationally also. And really their only losses within their classification the last few years, I think, was Stockbridge last year deep in the playoffs. Other than that, they went undefeated in the regular season every year. So you don't really see Benedictine get blown out like that a lot. I do think they're going to be obviously a tough football team. Guys will be playing both sides of the ball. They did replace a lot of firepower, a new quarterback. And then Buford, we know how good their defense is, but man, if Benedictine's able to draw something up, get a turnover, a short field, get points on the board, they could start to put some pressure on Buford. I really want to see the Buford offense start to come alive. All right, so why did it do that? All right, some other matchups in Class 6A this week. All right, we've got Jonesboro and Douglas County is going to be a really good one. I really like Jonesboro. I think they've been a very hungry and motivated program. They play with a lot of pride for the Cardinals. Jonesboro's been a great school that we've covered over the years. They've had a lot of success in basketball, but they really want to be known as a football powerhouse. And they're playing a Douglas County team that really could say the same thing about them. Last year, they lost that heartbreaker to Woodward Academy in the playoffs. They returned all that talent, and I think they are possibly the most talented team in the state this year. It'll be a really tough matchup for Jonesboro, but a good test for them. We'll definitely be following that one closely. I thought my takeaway from the Douglas County Cedar Grove game was they could have won by even more points. DJ Bordeaux, their quarterback, was phenomenal. He showed his stuff running the ball and passing. I think he actually had the same amount of yards doing both, although a lot of those plays were called back for penalties, some of them questionable with blocks in the back. But I think Douglas County, you saw their execution against Cedar Grove. They were 3 of 3 on 4th downs in the first quarter. So watch out for that in that Jonesboro game. Douglas County has confidence with that big size they have up front, all their weapons that can catch the screen and really, hey, if you're going to load the box, they got Aaron Gregory out there. They got so many outstanding receivers they can just pop with an accurate throw to Bordeaux. So I expect Douglas County to try to control the possession early, and Jonesboro is going to have to keep it within striking distance. All right, here's another great matchup that we will have updates on throughout. McEachern at North Cobb. North Cobb has votes in the top 10. I think they're a very talented team. Last year, I think the wheels kind of fell off at the end. They battled a ton of injuries, more than they probably had in Coach Queen's tenure. They had the game against Walton, the super team last year that the Raiders had, where they were up big. It got away from them, and that was a disappointing loss as well. And then into the playoffs, I believe that was might have been the Collins Hill game. Someone blew them out, but they came out really strong last week. And I think this is a big test for McEachern, who did look very good against North Gwinnett. I know North Gwinnett ended up winning the game, but I still think McEachern, you look at their schedule, it's a big non-region game, but they are still my favorite to get that number 1 seed heading into the playoffs. All right, moving on to some other big matchups in 6A before we get to the other classifications. I'm looking at, West Forsyth and Marietta. Marietta had a pretty bad loss last week. West Forsyth looked very talented against Prince Avenue Christian. I think the key for them, though, they got very tired in that game. They got worn down, so we'll see how they recover heading into a matchup at Marietta. Marietta does have talent. They are going to be aggressive. All right, and then our game, the Mill Creek and Norcross. I have our preview pulled up right here. I want to go over it real quick. All right, this was from Max. All right, so it will be the first time that the Great Atlanta Bash will be held at Norcross. We have had it at Eddie Henderson Stadium downtown this year. I mean, the whole key to it is to have it televised, and so that's how it started. When we would televise the Corky Cal, we wanted more televised matchups, and now this year it's really gonna stand alone as the Great Atlanta Bash, but after this is the drive for the GHSA state title. And really, I think if you are a fan of Gwinnett football, if you have a close eye on 6A, this game is going to tell a lot. Don't underestimate just the sheer athleticism of Norcross. They have a coaching staff that's been together a long time. They know how to operate within a game, make adjustments, and feed the hot hand. And then with Mill Creek, I think they're one of the best coached teams you can get. Just their patience, their ability to use guys efficiently within the game and rotate. All right, so Mill Creek is on a 3-game win streak against Norcross. They beat the Blue Devils by 2 touchdowns, 27-13 a year ago. Norcross last won against the Hawks in 2020. That game went into overtime. Both Mill Creek and Norcross are coming off victories last week, with Mill Creek beating Lambert 56-26 and Norcross winning 31-10 against Lanier. This is what Coach Malouf said about Mill Creek. Their box is very good. Their cornerbacks are very talented, and their quarterback is a 2-year starter. That is Shane Throgmartin, and he actually ended up getting time as a sophomore also. If you remember, it was against Milton. I think it might have been the semifinals right before their win over Carrollton. Clark went down. Hayden Clark went down in that first half. Shane came in and seamlessly just hit 2 quick touchdowns to Mikkel Wood in that blowout victory. It's a little bit of a different team, but this is a big game for him senior year against Norcross. All right, both coaches know the importance of scheduling tougher teams to begin their seasons. This is what Coach Lovelady said. Keith and I are good friends off the field, and we know if we have a chance to schedule each other, we will, because we know that the kids are going to be coached well and they're going to play hard. Both programs are very stable. As far as when we play, we know we're going to give each other a battle. The Mill Creek offense has a multitude of playmakers, including Shane Throgmartin, seniors coming off a 3-touchdown performance in week 1 with 171 yards. He completed passes to 7 different receivers. When they aren't attacking through the air, their running attack can cause problems. Mill Creek lost Cam Robinson to graduation, but has found the answer to replace him with the duo of Daniel Smith and Gabe Hatchell Van Dree. Last week, the two combined for a whopping 261 yards of offense. So is Mill Creek going to try to run the ball on Norcross, or is Norcross going to game plan and force it through the air? Be very fun to watch. As for Mill Creek, they were led by senior Trey Walker, junior Sean Cummins, and senior tight ends Miles Gindelsberger and Alabama commit Luke Metz, who's playing both sides of the ball. They each caught touchdown passes last week and have proved to be important pieces. So you can find the full preview at scoreatl.com. The game will kick off at 8 o'clock, Peachtree Sports Network. And I'm excited for it. I think Mill Creek's probably a slight favorite, but I really like Norcross. I like Dylan Muhammad, the quarterback. I like their weapons too. They can throw it deep if they want to, but I think they're going to try to get the screen game going and just get the ball in their playmakers' hands. That will be the key. All right, so let's get down to 5A real quick. Milton is a consensus across the board number 1. They joined Pierce County in Class 2A as the only other consensus. They have the full 60 votes. Number 2 is Gainesville. They'll be playing Moody, Alabama tonight. You got Coffee coming in at number 3, Hughes at 4, and then tied for number 5, Thomas County Central and Lee County. Rome is at number 7. They still haven't played their openers. Still, we want to see how they look after pretty crazy last month with that bus incident. Houston County, there's steady at number 8, a team that people were very impressed with against Alpharetta. Woodward Academy at 9, Roswell 10, Dutchtown. Those are the 11 teams getting votes right there. All right, down in 4A, Marist remains a slight number 1. They looked very good against Jefferson in the opener. Hold on one sec. I'm losing circulation in my leg. One sec. So against Jefferson, it was the defense. They completely stifled them, played ball control. And I think it was a great win for Marist. I saw them scrimmage Blessed Trinity. The offense struggled a little bit. I thought Blessed Trinity looked very talented, but that was a big win last week. And if you look at Marist and their schedule, they have a chance to pretty much run the table. So I have no problem seeing them that high. That was a big win. Perry, they're coming off I think it was a 36-7 win over, that was Baldwin last week, but now Perry is going to be tested at home against Peach County, who looked really strong last week. You got Cartersville coming in at number 3 this week. They looked lights out offensively. I was so impressed with just how quick they were running through their progressions. And it reminded me almost of the Cass game last year on the things Cartersville did right. They wouldn't find much success, but they would hit the big play. They ended up winning that game against Cass. They really only had like 3 great plays the entire game. The rest was just about working sideline to sideline. But when you see them against Columbia last week, they had it all going on, put up 40 points, and they just looked much better this year. And I think they have an incredible potential. You're going to have Benedictine. We talked about that matchup against Buford. They're at number 5. You got Ware County. They have a big matchup at Coffee, the defending 5A champs. Blessed Trinity is going to be playing at Holy Innocents. I think that's a game BT has a great chance of winning. We'll talk about a little more if we have some time. Cass comes in at number 8, tied with North Oconee. Eastside comes in at number 10. They had their big win against the rival last week. And then also getting votes in Class 4A, you got Warner Robins, Central Carroll, Stars Mill, Cedartown, and Harris County. Great group right there. All right, let's get to 3A real quick. So 3A, Sandy Creek is number 1. They got a 15-point lead on number 2, Jefferson, who lost to Marist last week. So I think Sandy Creek 100% earned that. They have a tough matchup, though, against McIntosh. And that is a program that I think has not only taken the next step this year, they've got some serious mismatches. And if they can just really dial in the dedication this season and get better as the season goes on, they have a chance to have a historic year. Chase Cromartie, the quarterback, he had 3 touchdowns last week. Brandon Ridley had, I think, 3 total touchdowns. They got Hollis at tight end. They've got a lot of weapons. If that team can come together, obviously Sandy Creek will be a tough matchup for them, but circle that one. Sandy Creek's number 1. McIntosh is not ranked, but I do think they will be able to go out there and compete. Let's see. Trying to see. Oh yeah, Calhoun's bouncing back from a loss week 1. Matchup I'm interested in is going to be Madison County at Hart County. I think it's the season opener for Madison County, and they find themselves in a brand new classification, and they have really been the only challenger in that former Region 8 to North Oconee the last few years. So I think without North Oconee in their path, they have been progressing very quickly. All right, some other matchups before we get down to the lower classifications. All right, so East Side, we talked about them entering the poll for the first time in a while. Is a historically good program, but they're off to a great start. They're going to be at Hiram. Could be a very high scoring matchup. Columbia, they're at Carrollton. Columbia had a chance to really be the best team in, I think, DeKalb County this year. Obviously, they got humbled by Cartersville this last week. Now they're going to have to play at Carrollton. We'll see how they bounce back from that. You got Cairo at Thomas County Central. That will be the season opener for Cairo. Houston County is going to host Effingham County. We saw how good Houston County was against Alpharetta. I think another big performance, we talked about this watch list for Mr. Georgia High School football. Houston County has a chance to put up some serious numbers. They couldn't be stopped offensively, and they've got the quarterback to do it. All right, Jefferson, how will they bounce back from a week one against Marist where they just didn't play well? They're going to play at Jackson County. Jackson County I don't think they've ever beaten Jefferson in 10 tries, but they do have Corey Mobbs as their head coach, the former Lanier coach. I think this is year 3 for him, and don't be surprised if this game is a lot closer than people are going to think. Another big matchup that I am going to put on upset alert, although I might be crazy, New Hampstead at Savannah Christian. Savannah Christian has a chance to win the Class A through 3A private state title this year. They're absolutely loaded. They came very close last year, making it to the 3A finals, falling to Cedar Grove. But so obviously we know how good they are. New Hampstead, though, with their quarterback Truell, they can put up points. They can score in a flash, and they looked really good last week. This is a great opportunity for them. Coach Hawkman's done a great job. The entire community's excited, and that'll be a great kind of Savannah area matchup. Let's see. We talked about the Ware County Coffee. Woodward Academy at Collins Hill. Woodward is coming off that loss to Carrollton last week, 24-14, and then Collins Hill is coming off the big win over Grayson. It will be at Collins Hill. I think if Collins Hill opens the season with wins over Grayson and Woodward Academy, they're going to be oozing with confidence. Coach Swick does a phenomenal job. Noonan and at East Coweta will be another good matchup to watch. In our top 30, we'll have updates on all these. Noonan with Coach Chip Walker, that tornado that ripped through Noonan like 4 years ago, they haven't had a field house. They haven't really had a stadium. This is the first year where, during the off season, they've had pretty much a home or a headquarters to work out of, and I think it's going to make a big difference. And Noonan has the talent, and they looked outstanding last week. So Noonan at East Coweta, definitely one to watch for the Cougars. All right, North Forsyth at Creekview. North Forsyth, they won, I think, by forfeit. That was the Wheeler game. I'm not sure what the score was when they called it off. And then Creekview's coming off that big win over Calhoun. North Hall at Wesleyan. I think Wesleyan is in that conversation with Savannah Christian, Hebron Christian Fellowship as a team that can challenge that Class A through 3A. I want to see how good they look against Wesleyan. You got Oconee County at Clark Central, a good area matchup right there. And then Pace Academy at Westminster. Pace Academy has not made it out of the playoffs in a long time, despite all the talent. And Westminster's coming off a tough loss last week to Lovett. One more matchup, South Paulding at Allatoona. Thought South Paulding probably underperformed a little bit against Dunwoody in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. They made some plays, but Dunwoody just played really disciplined. They fought hard the entire game. They didn't make mistakes. They used special teams well. I have a lot of faith in this South Paulden team. Allatoona is going to be a tough matchup, but I want to see how they bounce back in that matchup. All right, let's get to some other ones real quick. All right, let's look at Class A Division 1. That is the classification I've been posting on my blog. You can check that out at thehjc.com. And it's obviously an interesting one because I'm not doing the rankings for it. I am polling teams from it, though, for the A private rankings. And so in terms of the non-private, the public schools that are still in there, you got Toombs County at number 1. They have yet to play. They will open up their season tomorrow night. You got Thomasville at number 2. Thomasville jumped really high this week after their win over Brooks County. It was a dominant road win, the first time they've beaten Brooks County on the road since 2014. In our poll, they jumped all the way from number 9 to number 2. You got Dublin at number 3 overall. We have them at number 2. You got Raven County 4, Fitzgerald at 5. They're coming off a loss last week, a tough one to Irwin County. You got Bleckley County at number 6, Swainsboro at 7, Lamar County at 8, Commerce at 9. They're coming off a loss week 1, and then the other teams in there: Model, Worth County, Fannin County, Bremen, Elbert County, and Northeast. I think out of those 13 teams, 6 of them have already dropped games. So it's a big week for them to kind of get back on the right track. And Bleckley County, let's see. I believe Bleckley County is playing Dodge County. Yep. So Bleckley is playing Dodge County. And believe it or not, that'll be the season opener for Dodge County. They will play a non-region game in 3 weeks, but this is a region game already week 2. It's a 10-team region. Bleckley County is the favorite. We mentioned they're ranked number 6 right now in the composite, but a big region opener for Bleckley County and season opener for Dodge County. In Class A Division 2, Bowden is the number 1 team. They lost by a point, obviously, last week to Fellowship Christian on that 2-point conversion late. You also have Irwin County at 2, Brooks County 3, Manchester 4, Quinch 5, Seminole County 6, Macon County 7, and I think Bowden and Macon County are going to play this week. There'll be a top 10 matchup. You also have Greene County and Tryon in that top 10. In terms of the Class 3A through A private, Prince Avenue Christian is the number 1 overall. They're number 1 in every poll except 680. 680 has Savannah Christian 1, Prince Ave 2. Prince Ave will play, I believe, an out-of-state game this weekend. I think that game's on Saturday. Savannah Christian, that's the big matchup against New Hampstead. Calvary Day is back in business. They had their game last week against Beach, called at halftime after a fight in the stands, so we'll see a full game from them. And then a top 5 matchup, this one I really want to talk about, is Fellowship Christian and Hebron Christian. And I saw Hebron play against Thurl in the Corky Kell Classic. They were very dominant. And I don't think they really showed their full game plan at all. I don't necessarily know if this is true, but I think Coach Guess is a coach that isn't afraid to, let's just say, run up the scoreboard. I'm not saying that that's his intention, but I feel like they're just going to go pedal to the metal in this game. They're eyeing a state championship this year. Fellowship's a team that's not in their classification. Hebron's 2A, Fellowship's A Division 1, but they could very well find themselves squaring off again in the quarterfinals, semis, or who knows, once the playoff seedings are set. I think Hebron is very underrated. They lost to Cedar Grove last year in the playoffs by 3 points, a game that they possibly could have won. And they just have like one of the best coaching staffs, I think, in the state with Coach Guess. You got Bruce Miller, the great Gainesville coaches there now. You got David Green, and you have a really talented group of guys. You saw it with our watch list. You had 4, I think, guys represented. The quarterback play is phenomenal. They're patient. They can run the ball, and then defensively, they are very talented. I'm picking Hebron Christian to win that game. I think it's going to be phenomenal. It was one of the games in the pick'em for the Georgia High School Football Daily, and I may be wrong, but I said it's going to be the biggest margin out of those games. I think Hebron is going to come out and really surprise people, but I do think Fellowship's a good team. I really think Hebron's that talented this year. All right, and then one other game I think is worth checking out. North Cobb Christian at Darlington. Darlington is coming off a loss last week. North Cobb Christian beat Providence Christian. They are ranked, I think, number 7 in our poll, number 9 overall. But Coach Jones at North Cobb Christian has done a great job. They won their first region title last year, and I think they're going to game plan well for Darlington, so watch out. All right, some of these other matchups before we close things out. All right, Douglas Atlanta at Westlake. Huge cross classification jump right there. Douglas looked really good in the Corky Cup Classic. The 18-3 win over LaGrange. And as good as Douglas looked, I just thought LaGrange looked a little one-dimensional in that they couldn't really pass the ball against that great Douglas secondary. Westlake is going to have to pass the ball. Luckily for them, they have better weapons at receiver, better quarterback. But Douglas is certainly going to go out there and fight. Douglas held LaGrange to just 82 yards rushing and 133 total yards last week. In terms of, Westlake, they're coming off a 52-21 loss to Hughes. And that Hughes massive offensive line put up, according to this, 417 rushing yards. So it says the offense was impressive. Travis Smith Jr. at receiver, he's on our watch list. He had 8 catches for 221 yards. Big matchup there. Travis Smith against that secondary with Jonte Gibson. But man, it will be a tough one for Douglas. It will be at Westlake. Westlake's coming off a loss. Douglas is coming off that big win. But I think both teams will be able to move on after. All right, Raven County at Fannin County. That will be another top 10 matchup. They last played, it looks like, 2011. Raven County won that one 35-21. So there you have it. I can go ahead and end this soon, but be sure, just tune in tomorrow. Mill Creek at Norcross. It should be a great game. Mention how good their coaches are. I think it's just going to be a fun game to watch just as a football fan. I think the teams will be in mid-season form. We'll get to see that chess match from the two coaching staffs. Great play on the offensive line. Both have experienced quarterbacks, lots of talent, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have coverage of all those games. Our week 2 roundups will be at scoreatl.com, and it will be a big week. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow night.